Let's start with an empty project. This is Cubase 11 Pro. If your screen looks a bit different, that's because I do a little customization and I recommend you to do the same. Close any windows that you will not be using regularly. When mixing, I mostly use the main screen and the mixing console, so everything else is closed, including the left zone. You can also close the status line and the info line here. I also remove less used items from the upper and lower bars by clicking on these gear icons. The less clutter you have on your screen, the easier it will be for you to focus on what's really important, and you will be able to work for a longer time without fatigue. I have a 3-monitor setup. The main project window sits in the middle monitor and the mixing console is on the right monitor. If you have one monitor only, you can also access the mixing console here on the lower zone. But for this course, I will go back and forth between the full screen project window and the mixing console to make it easier for you to see what I'm doing. Now let's set up our project for the tracks that we will be importing. You don't have to do this if you're working on an existing project. Go to Project, Project Setup. For sample rate, select 44.1 kHz. For bit depth, select 32-bit float. We talked about these parameters in the section on digital audio, so if you skipped ahead to this lesson and you need a refresher on what they are, you can find all the information you need in that section. Click OK. Next, go to Studio, Studio Setup. Select the tab that carries the name of your sound interface. In this case, I'm using Loopback Audio. Click Control Panel. Put your buffer size as high as it will go. This will give you a huge amount of latency, but it doesn't matter when you're mixing. Increasing the buffer size reduces the pressure on your computer and allows it to perform much better. You will be able to use more plugins without any clicks, pops, or audio dropout errors. Just remember to bring it back down for your next project. Next, come down to the tempo menu here and set the tempo to 130 BPM. Because that's the tempo of the tracks that we will be importing. Now hit J on your keyboard. This is the shortcut for turning on snap. Enabling snap will make sure that when we import our tracks, they will be placed precisely at the beginning of the measure. Now let's get the tracks that we will be mixing. If you want to mix your own project, you're all set. If you'd rather download the tracks that I will be using in this course and follow along with me, you can find a link to download them in the PDF attached to this video. In that PDF, you will also find a list of other resources on the internet where you can find free multi-tracks for mixing practice in any genre of music. So download the PDF, download the tracks, and come back once you're done. Now we are ready to import our tracks. Go to File Manager or Finder. Select the tracks that you downloaded and drag them right on the project window. Click Different Tracks. Click OK. Now select everything by typing Command A on a Mac or Control A on a PC. Enable Snap here and move everything to the right by one measure. This empty space is a safety margin that will be handy at the end of this course when we're exporting the song. Now let's talk about a couple of things that will make your life easier in the project window. The scroll wheel on your mouse will allow you to scroll vertically. Pressing Shift on your keyboard while scrolling will allow you to scroll horizontally. You can zoom vertically by this slider here. Or select how many rows you want to see in this menu. To zoom in and out horizontally, use the keyboard shortcuts. G zooms out and H zooms in. If a track is recorded too quietly and you cannot see the waveform, use this waveform zoom right here. This does not turn up the gain or volume, it just magnifies the waveform image. Now let's start organizing our project. When working on your project, you should always give your tracks short and functional names. Right now, the names of these tracks are too long and you cannot see what's in them at a glance. So the first step is to name the tracks. Take a moment to listen to each track briefly and name them yourself. That's the first step in familiarizing yourself with what's in each track. To listen to a track, you can either solo it, like so, or you can use the play tool. This handy little tool will play only the track that you click on, starting from the point that you click it. You can rename the tracks by double-clicking on their names. It's a good idea to have a naming scheme and use it in all your projects. For example, I always start with the name of the instrument, then its function, then its position in the song. For example, I will name this track Guitar Lead Rock. This one, Guitar Distortion Rock. You don't have to do it like I do, but pick a method and stick with it. Once you're done naming your tracks, it's time to order them. Ordering your tracks will let you have a better vision and control of the project. You can order your tracks simply by dragging them like so. I always have the drums on top, starting with the kick, then snare, then hi-hat, ride, toms, overheads and room microphones if there are any. Then I have the bass. Then tonal background instruments like synths, arpeggiated sounds, pads, and so on. Then I have lead instruments and finally the vocals at the very bottom. This is the order that I work on my tracks. Once again, you don't have to do it like I do, but pick a method and stick with it. Next, it's time to color your tracks. Coloring your tracks is another step in gaining visual mastery of your project. At a glance, you will be able to tell which instrument group a track belongs to. I always use the same colors for the same instruments in all my projects, so even when I need to go back to a project I did years ago, I can see at a glance what is going on. Don't think of this as a waste of time. It is very important to have a visual mastery of your song. Take your time and color your tracks. You do that by selecting the tracks, clicking on this color palette, and selecting a color. So use one color for drum tracks, another for bass tracks, and so on. Unfortunately, Cubase has a nasty choice of colors, but you can customize them under Project Color Setup. You can pick your own colors and name them. Once you're happy, you can store your new color palette as default, so you can use it in your future projects as well. One more thing we can do for organizing our projects is to place tracks under folders. Folders in Cubase work pretty much like folders in your operating system. They are a great way of reducing clutter on your screen, especially on larger projects. To add a folder, click the plus sign here, select folder, name it, and click Add Track. You can drag it just like tracks. To add tracks to a folder, simply select them. To select a sequence of tracks, click on the first one and shift-click on the last one. Then drag and drop them into the folder. Once you place tracks in a folder, you can close the folder to reduce clutter on your screen. Mute or solo all the tracks in that folder at the same time. And you can edit them together. This is it. We have finished organizing our project. Now head over to the next section and we'll make sure that your project is in top shape and ready for mixing as well.